Joining us now, one of the great players in NFL history, and this is the first time we're talking to him since he became a Hall of Famer. He is Hall of Fame receiver Terrell Owens. T.O., how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. How do you like the sound of that now when you hear yourself introduced as Hall of Famer Terrell Owens?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, again, it's still probably 3 years too late, but I'll take it however I can get it. But other than that, I think it was something that was long overdue, and now, I think it's a situation where now I just kind of, I'm recognized for really kind of my accomplishments and what I did on the football field.
And you're right, it was overdue. We had the conversation last year at the Super Bowl about it, and I'm glad to see you get in. In hindsight, what bothered you more about it, having to wait or the things that some of the voters felt compelled to say to justify making you wait?
Well, just the latter part of that is just them really trying to, again, question my character. And I think, from the first nomination alone, these are some of the things that started to kind of circulate. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I'm like, I'm not this type of person. I'm like, just because you may have heard something from a couple of guys or whomever, even in the locker room or coaches, that doesn't speak for the majority of the locker room just because an individual or two may dislike me. So that was something, again, like I said, because for me, post-football, the media is so powerful. And again, I think I'm trying to do things post-football off the field that, again, these businesses, they really adhere to, they listen to. And so when you start talking about somebody's character and you're trying to align yourself with businesses and brands and trying to establish stuff off the field, they take some of these things into account. And so, again, they don't understand, what they say, how powerful it is and how meaningful it is. And so for me, I know who I am as a person and how I was in the locker room. And just to kind of further, kind of pinpoint, some of the character issues that no teammate has ever come out and say that I was a bad teammate or I was terrible in the locker room. Yeah, I'm not here standing and saying that I was perfect by any means, but not to the degree to have kept me out from getting what I rightfully deserved, which was my Hall of Fame induction the first time around.
And you chose not to attend the ceremony. And let me tell you, I support anybody who makes that decision. It's up to you. It's a free country. If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. But will you go at some point to see your bust?
Yes, I've seen it. I helped Blair Boswell, who basically does, some of the bust. I saw it firsthand. I was very instrumental in the reproduction of my beautiful face there, and that's in Canton. I've seen it. I was in San Francisco November 1st for the Hall of Fame ceremony, ring ceremony there. So, again, I don't necessarily have to be there or go there, but at some point in time, I do want to be there and go there with my family and my kids. And Dave Baker and those guys, since then and even before, they said I'm welcome there. They're going to treat me like family, like I belong. But again, my thing against them is just it wasn't in alignment. Everything that they said when I was there, when I went on the visit, it just wasn't in alignment with, kind of the vision and the core values of the Hall of Fame. And again, they put too much power in those voters, in the writers' hands that ultimately induct us into the Hall of Fame. Everything should be in alignment. Those guys should be on one accord, and I think that was a disconnect.
Hey, there's an issue that you and I are in alignment on, and I could see it on Twitter this week. The horrendous call at the end of the Rams-Saints game, the NFL's reaction to it or lack thereof. Yeah. What do you think the NFL should do about what happened in that game?
I think when in any situation like this, again, obviously they filed suit. When you go to court, again, like I said, whomever is, the judge is, looking at all the things, all the evidence and things put together to make up this case, then you have to go to the rule book. And I know I've gone on the air with Shannon and Skip earlier, and I spoke to them about it. And what's in the rule book is in there for a reason. Again, this is a probably once in a million type thing that happens, but there's probably like three things that happen on that one play. Again, you got the helmet to helmet, let alone just the PI in itself. Then you have the defensive back who never even looked back at the ball. So again, all these things that occurred on that one particular play impacted really the entire game and advancing the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl. And so, again, it should be about fairness. It's about the integrity of the game. When you have two teams, and again, you look at this particular play, and everybody's all up in arms, like, oh, well, what about the game? What about the flags, throughout the course of the game? Yeah, I mean, they talk about the face mask penalty in early in the game or in the Chiefs game. Those are great area plays. But when you have plays like this that is black and white, that's when you have to address it. And Roger Goodell gets paid a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money to do his job. And I think this is where the onus is on him to take responsibility and step up to the plate as the commissioner. Again, it's not going to be the most popular decision if he goes to the rule book and as it states that he has the power to reschedule the game or from the point at which the extraordinary act or the infraction occurred. And so again, if that happens, then you have the New Orleans Saints advancing to the Super Bowl. I can't emphasize it enough, Mike, that the rules are in the book for a reason. Like, again, whoever made up these rules, they understood that there is something there's a possibility that something like this could happen. And in this case, it definitely warrants these rules to be looked at.
And I agree with you completely on that, and we'll see if they make any fixes or changes going forward. When you think back on your career, and you played a long time, you accomplished a lot of things. Is there one moment that stands out for you as the proudest moment of your career?
The proudest moment? I don't know. I think probably if I look back on it, it's probably just, I guess when I played in Philly and, the efforts that I made, to get back to play in the Super Bowl. Understanding that, again, I was risking my career. I ended up having to sign a waiver just to play in the Super Bowl because of the extent and the severity of my injury that I had. And, I think, again, there's such a misconception about who I am as a person. But I think, as I said earlier, there's not any players that have openly come out and said that I was a terrible teammate. I think nobody's 100% liked in the locker room. I think that's, you can ask anybody, in any sport for that matter. So for me, I think the proudest moment is just me really knowing that, if you put your mind to something, and for me, I'm a God-fearing man, and I was raised in a church where my grandmother basically told me, like, if you have faith and you put your faith in something, nothing is impossible. And so for me to do what I did and really kind of just, really be behind my teammates and my teammates behind me and just be in that suit and play in that Super Bowl and to play the way that I did, I think that the efforts that I put forth and the training staff at that time to help me get on that football field and everybody that was involved, I think that was probably the proudest moment that I can remember and recall right now.
Antonio Brown and the Steelers currently have something going on. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if Antonio Brown wants to be in Pittsburgh. I don't know if they want him there. But what advice would you have for Antonio Brown right now?
I mean, I've talked with Antonio Brown throughout the course of the year, and I've kind of known some of what has been going on. He's leaned on me for advice, somewhat of a mentor, so to speak. And, I think he's done well. I think with just sometimes not really saying what he really wants to say. I think just going out and just playing. And I think he's allowed his play to really be at the forefront of where he goes to next. Because, again, regardless of all the issues that are inside that locker room or what have you, I think his best asset is just, and I think, if you're moving forward about where he wants to go, it's his production on the football field. Again, like I said, he hasn't been happy, but at the same time, again, there are things that are going to surface, get blown out of proportion. But I think with him and management and the organization, I think if you've noticed some of the quotes coming out of Pittsburgh is that they don't think that he's going to be there, and I think they have to do what's best for everybody, all parties involved, and try to go their separate ways amicably if that's possible. If it's not amicably, then just part ways, because it's going to be a recipe for disaster, as you've seen with the Le'Veon Bell situation and some of the things that have occurred during the course of the season. So I think with him, I think it's a fresh start to go elsewhere and part ways with the organization and some of the things that he and Ben or have been confronted with. I think it's best for him and his family to just go on and do what's best for his family, and I think it's, like I said, best for them to just part ways.
And I've gotten the impression that he's ready to move on. I get the impression that you've come to the same conclusion.
Absolutely, and I think it's no secret now. I think everybody's kind of just airing, putting their cards on the table. I think he wants to move on. I think the management knows that they want to at least try to maybe salvage, but at the same time they want to get something in return if they do, in fact, release him or whatever the case may be. So, again, they don't want to just let him go and get nothing in return. So I think there's a lot of creative ways to possibly make that happen. And I'm sure if it bodes well for both parties, then everybody will be happy in the long run. But, I don't like, just speaking with him and what I've seen, from afar. I don't like how Ben has kind of thrown him under the bus in some certain instances and just not spoken in a more of a cohesive and, again, chemistry type unit, especially when you have a quarterback of his stature and a receiver of his stature and what they've been able to accomplish over the course of the years that they played together. I think Ben owes him a lot more of respect than he's given him by just sending subtle messages, through certain things that he said, throughout the media. I mean, even from the standpoint of him saying he didn't know anything about a blow-up when he was a part of the blow-up. You know what I mean? How can you say that when, everybody in that locker room and around the world knows that there was something that went on during that course of the practice, and then you go on the radio and say you don't know anything about it?
Hey, T.O., it sounds like that locker room could use a nice blast of Febreze, which is not an accidental reference, right? That's why you're with us today.
You're exactly right. There's a lot of foul stuff going on, and definitely Febreze is definitely needed and could be put to use.
What do you got going on with Febreze this year?
Well, yeah, just second year partnering with them. They're the official. This is the third year that they're the official sponsor for the Super Bowl. So again, I couldn't be more excited just to be a part of it and just be a part of the creativity. And we've kind of had to adjust the skit a little bit, and it turned out to be fun. But everybody knows across the country, I mean, there's going to be thousands and millions of Super Bowl parties. So you can imagine, people out of the country, what's being cooked up for Super Bowl with all those different dishes. And here in the States, you have obviously your main staple of pizza and nachos and God knows what else. And then, with all these foods comes, the bathroom is going to be probably the most used facility of everything. So you got to keep your Febreze on stock. And again, like I said, I couldn't be more proud to be able to promote this odor eliminating MVP. That's going to be the Febreze is the MVP of the Super Bowl this year. That's for sure.
Hey, buddy, it's great talking to you. One more real quick. Do you get the sense where Antonio wants to play?
From what I've heard, I mean, he wants to. I've talked to him on a couple of occasions, Mike, and like I said, I'm not here to air anybody's messages or anything, conversations, but he's asked me about how the Bay Area was on several occasions. And so, again, obviously no secret that Jerry has already come out and said he wants to play there, but I didn't get a sense that he really wanted to play there. I just thought he was kind of exploring his options. But again, he asked me how was the Bay Area on a few occasions. So, like I said, you can't beat the weather out here. And for somebody with his ability and a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, at the quarterback position, hey, you never know what can happen. You see how they play with and without Jimmy. You think of bringing an offensive weapon like that, to the team. That team can go a long way, can shake up the NFC West. And then possibly, hey, you throw me in the mix, somewhere down the road. Hey, it could be a recipe for disaster.
All right, buddy. Hey, I've kept you longer than I should have, but I've really enjoyed talking to you. We look forward to talking to you again down the road. And congratulations again on finally getting into the Hall of Fame, even though it was a few years too late. Thanks, pal.
It's all good. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.